Hello, welcome to the Go Laadli Challenge Workshop. This is part 2, putting ideas into action, steps 7 through 15. Once again, my name is Shari Harrison, and I'm here to walk you through developing solutions for your problem, from generating ideas to making them actionable. If you are watching this, you have hopefully found the problem you'd like to solve and are inspired and ready to begin solving. Here are the steps we will be covering in this workshop. We'll first generate a vision of what the world looks like when your problem is fully solved. We'll then generate ideas for how to achieve that vision. We'll look at the specific outcomes we'd like to have happen, followed by the impact we want to create and an action plan to make it all happen. So let's get started. The very first step in the process is to begin with the end in mind. Your vision for how the world will look when your problem is solved. So how do we go about that? The first step is to look at the symptoms of the problem that you identified as you were refining your problem, and I'll remind you about that in just a second. These symptoms are going to be helpful because they should be gone in the vision that you're producing. The next tip I have for you is to be bold. This isn't the time to be practical. You can be practical later. And finally, you want to focus on what you want the world to look like, not how you plan to get there, at least not yet. So that's how you come up with a vision for your solution. Let's look at an example. So we have been talking about this example from the first workshop. Teenagers in my community are experiencing more depression. And we had divided up symptoms and causes. So symptoms were eating too much or too little, doing badly in school, people getting mad at friends, etc. And we also had a set of root causes. So if we were to create a vision for how the world's going to look when this problem is solved, here's a couple of examples of what that might look like, building on the symptoms that we just talked about. Teenage girls that I want to impact are happy, they do well in school, and they enjoy their friends and family. Another one might be teenage girls that I want to impact are engaged and thriving at school, at home, and with their friends. So you can see this is just two different ways to describe the world once you've solved your problem. Once you have your vision, you're going to generate ideas, and you do this by what we call brainstorming. This is a really fun step. When you brainstorm, you want to do it with a couple of different, you usually want to use what we call prompts, a few different prompts. So, and that's going to be the source for your ideas, if you will. So one of them is awareness. How can you generate awareness for the problem? Another is education. How can you educate people on the problem? A third is influence. Who can you influence so that the problem can start to go away, or influence to help you with the solution? And finally, action. What actions can you take? What actions can your friends take? What actions can the beneficiaries take? So here are some examples for the problem of teen depression in each of those areas. You could create a presentation and either give it yourself or get an expert to come speak at local schools about teen depression. You could create a flyer and post it around the schools or neighborhoods. You could try and influence the school or even the government to have a free therapy for all depressed teens. And some actions you could take on your own would be to start a support group or maybe a book club. So that's 5 ideas. You want to shoot for at least 5, I'd say maybe even try and get to 10. Now it's time to pick the ideas that you want to go after. This is a quick and easy way to do that I've used in my work in technology software development for prioritization. Take each of your ideas and see which one ranks highest using the criteria, in this case, from the Go Loudly challenge. So the criteria that is laid out in the challenge is impact, importance, feasibility, success, and interest. So how much impact will it have? How important do you think it's going to be to the beneficiaries? How easy is it going to be to implement? How successful do you think it will be? And how much interest do you have in actually doing it? So rate each idea against each of the criteria, where 1 is low and 10 is high. And then all you need to do is look at the idea with the highest score, and that's going to be your winner. In this case, the decision is that starting a book club is the best idea. One thing to remember with feasibility is that if the people that need to change or do the work are the same as those that benefit, that's going to increase the feasibility of your solution. If you really need other people to change, that's going to decrease feasibility. So for example, the free therapy law. Step 10, write it down. I love the super short step. Step 11 is to revisit who benefits from your solution with a new lens of what solution you've picked. So once again, be as specific as possible. In this case, if it is the book club that you've decided to do, it's going to be the girls in my book club are going to be the ones that benefit. If you decide to put up flyers, it's anyone who sees the flyer. If you decided to do the talk, it would be the students that attend the talk. So those are the beneficiaries of your solution with the lens of what you've picked to implement. In step 12, you need to develop a set of goals that you want to achieve that are specific to your chosen solution. When creating these goals, remember the acronym SMART. A good goal is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant to the problem you are solving, and time-based. Here's a couple of examples from our book club solution. There will be 3 book clubs by the end of the year with 8 girls per club. So you can see that's measurable, it's attainable, it's not like, you're not trying to have 100 book clubs. It's relevant to the solution, it's time-bound. Another, we will feel better by being together, and because of what we have learned from the books, I can measure how it's helping by having each girl take a survey at the beginning of each meeting and answer the question, how often do you feel depressed? So instead of just making it, oh, we'll feel better by being together, you want to really say in the outcome how you've measured your success. In this case, a survey. In step 13, you're going to look at long-term impact. It's time to be bold again. Imagine a world where your solution has been wildly successful. Combine that with your vision of the future where your problem is solved, and that's the long-term impact that you want to create. So, for example, the book club grows to other schools and neighborhoods. More and more girls are affected. As the girls in the program grow up, they are able to help their children and friends with what they have learned. So this is your vision of the world once your solution is successful. Should be very exciting. In step 14, you're going to talk about your unique value proposition. So what does that mean? This is making sure that your solution is differentiated from other solutions out there. So the first step to figuring that out is find out who else is addressing the problem, who else is trying to help teenagers become less depressed. So therapists, maybe teachers are trying this, maybe you know of a support group. So name each of those solutions and then talk about what makes your solution unique and different. So for example, other solutions include counseling the girls or trying to make them cheer up. My book club was different because it is very inexpensive and will help the girls feel like they aren't alone while learning tools for how to be happy. Step 15 is to create an action plan for making your goals happen. You're going to be breaking down each outcome you came up with into specific steps that will make those outcomes happen. So you remember from, I think it was step 12, that you want to have 3 book clubs by the end of the year. So how are you going to, what are the milestones, the interim steps that need to happen to make that achievable? Here's an example. You maybe create flyers and post them in the first school. You find a place to meet and you do that by June 1st. Or in this case, well, given that we're already in July, maybe you do that by August 1st. You hold the first meeting, you put flyers up in the second and third schools by a certain date, and then you hold the first meeting for the second and third book club by a certain date. So now you have 3 book clubs started. The girls in the club feel happier is the other goal that we had, and the other outcome that we had come up with. So maybe you first create a survey that you want to ask every time. You get what's called a baseline for each girl. So before they start the book club, find out how they're feeling. Then you take a survey every meeting, and maybe at a certain point you decide it's time to analyze your results and see if people are generally getting happier. Once again, you want to be SMART, so specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. And with that, you are done. You do also need to create a budget for your solution that I didn't include in this workshop because I think it's pretty straightforward. And I wish you all the best of luck, and I can't wait to see what ideas you come up with. Thanks.